which we regard as a form of escalation. Regarding the reasons of this crisis, honestly, we don't know whether there were real reasons for this crisis, or whether it was based on things that we are unaware of. If there were real reasons, mass media, escalation in the mass media, and the fabrication of news and propagating false news about the state of Qatar to destabilize Qatar based on allegations, false allegations. Are there any other reasons? If there were other reasons behind this crisis, if there were real reasons, it would have been put on the table for discussion during the GCC meeting, and we were there at the meeting for the GCC, and none of that was mentioned. Anything was said about tension in the intra-Gulf relations, and it wasn't mentioned either during the American summit, American Islamic Arab Summit in Riyadh. There were no indications whatsoever. But we noticed that this escalation on the media started after the Qatari news agency was hacked. There were allegations attributed to His Highness our Prince, and then there was an unprecedented level of escalation from mass media operating from within these countries, insulting a brotherly nation, using a type of language that was never used before against the leadership. And Qatar has not met this escalation with escalation. We've been trying to deal wisely with this. We haven't responded to them on the same level. His Prince Tamim, was he going to give a speech to the nation? Was he planning to do so? Yes, there was a plan to give a speech to the people, to discuss the latest developments, but His Highness he was contacted by the Emir of Kuwait, and he conceded to delay that speech till tomorrow, to give him time so that the Emir of Kuwait could move to contain this crisis. His Highness, the Emir of Kuwait, played a big role. We, in Qatar, we highly respect his desire to postpone that speech, the speech that was meant to be given to the Qatari people by the Prince. So Qatar wants to give some space for contacts. You have been contacted by foreign ministers of many countries. We heard that there were so many contacts and so many levels and statements from different countries. Where did these contacts lead to resolve this crisis? First, regarding the options, the Qatari options, the measures that have been taken against were unilateral measures, against unprecedented measures, against affecting our people and our relations, even relations between families, between the peoples of the countries of the GCC. But in the end, we will not launch escalation or measures to escalate towards our brotherly nations. This has to be resolved. Sit around the discussion table and resolve it in a transparent and frank way. and to agree on what are the points of disagreements. So we can have these disagreements while respect each other. Regarding the context we've had today, we've had many communications today from various brotherly foreign ministers of various brotherly nations, and they had expressed their solidarity with the state of Qatar, and they expressed a wish that this crisis would be contained. Many of them we were thankful for their efforts. The strategic choice of the state of Qatar is to resolve a crisis, any crisis, through dialogue. How do you see this crisis, how it has affected the GCC? Unfortunately, today we're facing very difficult challenges. On the Arab world, there are people getting killed every day, whether because of terrorist crimes or terrorism carried out by states against their own people. There are several crises. There is a crisis in Syria, a crisis in Libya. All these challenges should unify us. And I'm surprised that at this critical moment in the history of the Arab world, that a state within the GCC could be accused of this kind of thing. How could the GCC? There are so many question marks about the future of this GCC, of the Gulf Cooperation Council. Its supposed relations should be based on solidarity and cooperation. Everybody knows that the Gulf people are one people. You're unified by one language. There is family ties. It's one fabric. But to use this Gulf Cooperation Council to impose certain policies or foreign policies, or to impose guardianship on any member state, to impose guardianship on Qatar in the area of foreign policy and interference in its internal affairs, للإعلان عن إجراءاتها بتدخل سافر في الشؤون الداخلية لدولة قطر ومخاطبة الشعب بشكل مباشر وهذا الأمر that is we totally reject this. Our options today is that the Gulf Cooperation Council should remain coherent. We think there is a big question mark about the future of the Gulf Cooperation Council. The statement from the Foreign Ministry today said that what has happened is not going to affect the normal life. How is this crisis going to affect the developments in the region and in the country? There are so many crises now facing Qatar. First, the failed coup in 1996, and then they withdrew ambassadors in 2014. His Highness the Prince, the Emir, has told us that we should, after all these crises, we have to have a strategy so that we are not affected by any measures taken by other countries in the region, and that the state of Qatar would be self-reliant in assuring that it has resources to continue life as normal for the Qataris and the people and the residents. And have you taken these measures? Yes, there is already a program. Today at the cabinet meeting, we have discussed this program. According to our plans, daily life would not be affected, nor other major projects or future projects. The state of Qatar has its own programs, and it's taken steps to ensure to achieve its vision despite any political pressures. There are some inaccurate statements regarding the closure of the airspace or maritime blockade. The only measure which could have an impact is the closure of the land border. but the maritime borders are these international waters, and we could secure all our needs for daily life in a general way. And all stuff needed, all the stuff we need to continue our projects will continue. Nothing will be affected in the running of everyday life. Sheikh Mohammed, what is known has become obvious through the leaks and several that Qatar has been subjected to a campaign of defamation, a program campaign, but within the American, to affect the American circles, where does the relationship between Qatar and America stand at the moment? Unfortunately, Qatar has been subject to a campaign of defamation in Western capitals, many such campaigns, especially in the United States, and unfortunately, there have been ambassadors from the Gulf Cooperation Council who actually led such campaigns against Qatar. That is against the founding charter of the Gulf Cooperation Council. Our ambassador of Qatar, regardless the level of our disagreements with other Gulf Cooperation Council members, we discuss these disagreements within the Council, but we don't take these differences to Western countries. But we noticed that during the last few days that there is a campaign of agitation by ambassadors from the Gulf Cooperation Council to accuse Qatar, especially in areas of financing terrorism, in cooperation with organizations, suspect organizations. But these campaigns have only affected marginal organizations. But the central institutions in the United States, our relationship with these institutions are excellent. It is a strategic partnership to fight terrorism and to establish peace in the Middle East. It's true we don't agree with them on everything, we have disagreements, but everybody respect everyone else's opinion, and we cooperate. Cooperation is far greater than disagreement. So I just wanted to allude to the fact that American-Qatari relations are not led by these marginal extremist organizations, suspect organizations, but it is managed by the official institutions which base their stances on strategic partnership and joint work that has been going on for decades. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.